Discover the miraculous transformation of God's covenant, 5 sacred books of divine inspiration revealed, in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, when the air was thick in the city of Ur of the Chaldeans, a young shepherd named Abram roamed the lush pastures, tending to his father's flocks. The scent of incense wafted through the vibrant market streets while merchants bargained, voices echoing amidst the cacophony of life. In this environment, surrounded by a myriad of gods worshipped by his people, Abram often lifted his gaze to the tranquil expanse of the night sky, yearning for a connection to the one true God whom he sensed calling him from deep within. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the land, Abram experienced a divine encounter. A stillness enveloped him, and in this solitude, an indistinct voice whispered softly to his heart, "Leave your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great." The words resonated deeply within him, igniting a battle between excitement and terror. Was this truly the call of God, or merely a figment of his imagination? As the stars twinkled overhead, a blanket of shimmering diamonds crafted by the Creator, Abram contemplated the life he knew, the familiar laughter in his home, the traditions of his family, and the comforts that cradled his existence. How could he abandon it all? To heed this call meant stepping into a realm of uncertainty and fear of isolation. Yet, with every beat of his heart, he understood that real faith required the courage to embrace the unknown, even when doubt lurked in the shadows. Days passed, and Abram shared his heart with Sarai, his beloved wife. The flicker of doubt mirrored in her eyes as he recounted the profound invitation he had received. The longing for certainty swirled between them, overshadowing their dreams. Yet deep within, they felt hope, the assurance of a future sculpted by the Powerful One. Would she embark on the journey into the unseen alongside him? As they prepared to leave Ur, family members questioned their decision and friends dared to doubt their resolve. Each step towards the promised land reverberated with tension. Yet, amid the chaos, the promise from God unfolded like a tender blossom, urging Abram onwards. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Their exodus from Ur was merely the beginning of God's divine plan. With each mile traveled towards Canaan, anticipation replaced uncertainty, yet shadows of doubt clung to Abram's heart. Would the God who spoke to him truly fulfill his promise? Standing beneath the vast heavens, he longed for a reassurance that solidified his faith. Fear, once a distant whisper, now gripped him tightly as he gazed into the darkness, wrestling with the enormity of the promise. What lay ahead? Would he abandon the journey like so many before him? Or would he muster the strength to trust in what his eyes could not see? As darkness settled and the stars shimmered above, a profound mystery hung in the air, waiting. Would Abram answer the call, stepping into the promise of glory, as the divine plan began its unfolding? As dawn broke upon the landscape, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Abram and Sarai set forth from Ur with their loyal servants and a modest flock. Each step away from familiarity tethered Abram's heart to uncertainty while emboldening their spirits with the hope of what lay beyond. They journeyed through ancient paths of barren deserts and fertile plains, the call of the Almighty echoing in the tender whispers of the wind. Yet, the weight of their choice weighed heavily upon them. Sarai, though resolute, felt the sting of anxiety prick her heart. Her gaze met Abram's as she voiced the words both feared and desired. What if the Lord's promise is beyond our reach, my husband? What if we search but find only emptiness? In humility, Abram responded, Beloved Sarai, we tread upon his path of faith. The God who called us forth shall surely guide our steps. Thus, with each sunrise, they pressed deeper into the heart of an unknown land, the promise of their inheritance gleaming like a distant star. Along their journey, they encountered various peoples, some curious, others wary. Yet each encounter deepened Abram's resolve, instituting a sacred awareness that he was a stranger in a land that would soon be called his, as foretold by the Lord when he proclaimed, "To your offspring I will give this land," Genesis 12 verse 7. As they approached the land of Canaan, the lush beauty surrounding them captured their longing hearts, yet the fears within throbbed stronger. It was at Shechem, where the oak of Moreh stood mighty against the sky, that the Lord appeared to Abram once more. In a powerful moment, the voice of the Most High filled the air, "To your offspring I will give this land." And in that sacred moment, Abram built an altar to the Lord, declaring his faithfulness and marking the place where heaven touched earth. Yet, the seeds of doubt took root as the days unfolded. A famine arose in Canaan, casting a shadow over their promise. Abram's heart faltered. Would this be the end of the vision bestowed upon him? Under the burden of fear, he made a fateful decision to journey to Egypt, believing safety awaited him in a land of abundance. Yet, in the depths of his uncertainty, he faced the reality of what it meant to step away from the promise. As they entered Egypt, Abram feared for Sarai's beauty, understanding that the hearts of men could often lead to perilous decisions. He whispered to her, his voice faltering, "Say you are my sister, that it may go well with me because of you, and that my life may be spared for your sake." The trepidation hung heavy between them. Indeed, upon their arrival, the Egyptian officials marveled at Sarai's radiance, drawing Abram into a perilous web of half-truths. The initial safety they found quickly morphed into a deeper moral turmoil. Amidst this tension, Pharaoh's court was soon to bear witness to the hand of the Almighty as he interceded for Abram and Sarai. As events unfolded, the realization struck that a divine plan lay woven through their trials. Could it be that even in moments of fear and uncertainty, God's purpose would prevail, guiding them through darkness to the dawn of his promise? What awaited them beyond this treacherous detour? Yet, even in the shadows, the whisper of hope persisted, revealing a powerful truth. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29 verse 11. And so, their story continued, ripe with divine intricacies, pushing forth towards the unraveling of God's magnificent plan, as Abram learned that faith, tested and tried, would lead to greater revelations yet to come. As the days slipped by in the land of Egypt, the favor that the Egyptians had shown Abram quickly turned to peril when the Lord's hand became heavy upon Pharaoh's household. There were many afflictions, the very essence of his palace grew troubled. The air thickened with a supernatural urgency, a spiritual unrest that would not wane. Pharaoh called his officials together, and confusion blanketed the court. "Why does this turmoil plague us?" he demanded, seeking an answer to this great mystery. As the murmurs of unease spread, the officials disclosed to him the truth. "There is a man among us, a Hebrew, who has deceived you through his silence and half-truths regarding his wife." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Pharaoh summoned Abram to his presence. The once illustrious exile stood before the king in trembling awe, knowing that the Almighty's voice echoed through the realm, reverberating with consequences he had not foreseen. Pharaoh's eyes bore into Abram, searching for understanding and truth. "What have you done to me?" Pharaoh's voice thundered with authority and accusation. "Why did you not tell me she was your wife? You have led me into a snare. Take, and go." In that moment, Abram felt his spirit break, the gravity of his deceit weighing heavy upon him. He could scarcely reply, yet he murmured, "It was out of fear for my own life that I spoke poorly of my beloved. Forgive me, O king, I am but a wanderer seeking the favor of the Almighty." But the God who called Abram did not abandon him. The Lord intervened once more, for he had a covenant to uphold. Pharaoh, compelled by divine revelation, commanded his servants, "Let this man and his wife depart with all that belongs to them." Awestruck and laden with gifts of cattle, silver, and gold, Abram emerged from Egypt, and Sarai, though shaken, remained steadfast by his side. Each heavy step taken from Pharaoh's court echoed with the lessons learned under the scorching sun of trial, that to walk away from the promise culminated in loss rather than gain. As they made their way back to the land of Canaan, Abram's heart rekindled with faith ignited anew. He reflected on all that transpired, the pain of his deception bringing forth clarity. He whispered to Sarai, "Even when we falter, our God remains faithful. He transforms our wounds into lessons, our fears into foundations for a greater testimony. Abram paused at the place where he had first laid an altar in Shechem, and he bowed down, lifting his hands in humble thanksgiving. You have brought me through the darkness, O Lord, he declared, and I shall trust in the promise you have spoken. But within his heart, doubt still lingered like shadows at dusk, and he wrestled with the fear of barrenness that loomed over their legacy. Would he truly become the father of nations as the Lord had foretold? Then came the quiet whisper again, a gentle reminder of the word of the Almighty, do not be afraid, Abram, I am your shield, your very great reward is coming. And so they journeyed forth into the fullness of the promise, harboring the hope that God's plan aligned with their lives, knowing that each step brought them closer to a destiny not yet fully realized. Yet, as they entered the lush lands of Canaan, a deeper mystery lingered in the air. What mighty deliverance awaited them as the time neared for God's promise to unveil itself, and what trials would shape them into a people destined for his glory. And it came to pass, as Abram and Sarai traversed the hills of Canaan, they beheld the land spread out before them, a promise nestled in the embrace of verdant fields and flowing streams. Yet, beneath the beauty of creation, Abram's heart wrestled with fear once more. The weight of the world seemed heavy upon him, and his spirit called out to the Lord in whispered desperation. O Lord, he prayed, you have promised me a great nation, yet my lineage remains unfulfilled. How shall a barren woman bear descendants? Do you not see my plight in this vast wilderness? As the sun dipped low, casting shadows across the fading light, the Lord responded to his anguished cries, a voice sweet as honeycomb amidst the golden fields. Abram, look to the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to number them. So shall your offspring be. With eyes skyward, Abram gazed into the night. The stars twinkled like promises unbroken, and in that stillness, the Almighty breathed life into his doubts. Lord, I believe, he declared, though a flicker of uncertainty danced within him. Yet, how shall I know that I will inherit this land? God's voice, strong and enduring, overshadowed Abram's trembles. Take for me a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, and a ram 3 years old, along with a turtle dove and a young pigeon. What could this signify? Abram was instructed to prepare a covenant sacrifice, for the Lord was about to reveal a profound truth that would stretch through the ages. As the evening thickened, Abram obeyed, bringing forth the animals and dividing them, setting them apart as a solemn offering. The dusk air filled with a sense of anticipation and reverence. As the sun set, darkness fell around him. In the twilight, a deep sleep enveloped Abram, and a great dread descended upon him. Shadows flickered like whispers of ancient terrors. Yet, in the midst of his terror, the Lord's presence filled the void. Know for certain, the Lord spoke, that your descendants shall be strangers in a land that is not theirs. They will serve, and they will be afflicted for 400 years. But I will bring judgment upon the nation they serve, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions. A foreboding revelation unfolded, the shadows revealing God's sovereign plan interwoven with trials and tribulation. Yet, in this dire proclamation, there was a promise of deliverance, a glimmer of hope threaded through the tapestry of despair. You, however, God continued, shall go to your fathers in peace, you shall be buried in a good old age. And in the 4th generation, they shall return here, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. With these words, the Lord affirmed his covenant, sealing it with a fiery presence that passed between the pieces of the sacrifice. Abram trembled, his spirit ignited by the holy declaration. Understanding dawned upon him, the covenant would be marked by trials, yet woven within would be redemption and glory. As dawn broke over the horizon, radiating warmth upon Abram's face, he rose burdened with the awareness of a long journey ahead. His heart brimmed with a blend of hope and trepidation, each beat a reminder of the divine promise etched into the very fabric of his being. Yet, even as Abram prepared to venture forth in faith, a question lingered in the air, a weighty anticipation: how would this inheritance unfold? What trials awaited his descendants, and how would God's mighty hand navigate through the shadows of suffering to bring about his sovereign will? Thus, the path ahead remained shrouded in mystery, each step a testament to faith, for God's promises are as true as the stars that adorn the night sky. And it came to pass, as Abram ventured forth from the place of covenant, he felt both the gentleness of the dawn upon his brow and the heavy mantle of the Lord's words in his heart. His path meandered through the hills, an echo of the promises yet to unfold, each footprint a silent declaration of faith amidst uncertainty. On the morrow, as Abram made his way toward the oaks of Mamre, he was met by the sudden presence of 3 men standing before him. At once, he sensed the weight of divine significance in their being. He ran to meet them, bowing low to the ground, his heart stirring with reverence. "My lords," he said humbly, "if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass your servant by." As the men responded, their words were as sweet as the breeze that danced among the branches. "Where is your wife Sarai?" one inquired, his voice imbued with authority. Abram's heart raced. Could it be? "She is in the tent," he replied, holding his breath, yearning for the revelation about to come. And as they spoke again, the air shimmered with expectation. "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarai your wife shall have a son." Abram listened, his heart leaping within him, but it was Sarai who, overhearing from within the tent, laughed silently at the thought, saying within herself, "After I am worn out and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure?" But the Lord knew her thoughts. With grace mingled with firmness, he turned toward Abram and asked, "Why did Sarai laugh and say, 'Shall I indeed bear a child, now that I am old?' Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you, and Sarah shall have a son." Abram stood speechless, senses tingling under the weight of divine intervention. The laughter of Sarai was not one of joy, but of disbelief, and the Lord's response pierced through doubt, igniting hope once more. When the men rose to leave, the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah weighed heavily upon them, hidden from sight but near in spirit. The Lord remained with Abram, and as they walked together, the Almighty shared his intentions with his faithful servant. "Shall I hide from Abram what I am about to do?" he pondered aloud. Abram's heart quickened, sensing the gravity of what the Lord was about to reveal. The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is very grave. I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me. With this solemn declaration, Abram's spirit stirred for his kin, knowing the kinship binding him to Lot, his nephew. "O Lord," he interjected, "will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city, will you then sweep away the place and not spare it for the 50 who are in it?" The dialogue that ensued became a deep intercession, a testament to Abram's heart, echoing with courage and conviction before the Almighty, impassioned and impelled by the sovereign grace that chose him. The Lord listened and responded, "If I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake." With each exchange, the magnitude of the covenant deepened, revealing a God who cared intimately for the just, and yet held the power to execute divine judgment. As the sun set over Canaan, a storm of emotions surged within Abram, the blessing of the covenant intertwined with the gravity of judgment. "But what if 5 are lacking?" he asked, pushing further into the depths of divine mercy and justice. "Then I will not destroy it for lack of 5, came the steady response, illuminating the righteousness of God even as the world turned dark. Yet, as their conversation lingered in the twilight, the question remained, what would become of Sodom? And how would God's unfathomable plan unfold in the lives of Abram and his descendants, woven intricately through the fabric of redemption and judgment? The night held its breath, shadows danced with expectation, and the promise lingered still, a son born to laughter, destinies intertwined in the hands of the sovereign Lord. And it came to pass, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, Abram stood in contemplation, wrestling with the weight of the Lord's words. The air was thick with unspoken questions, and the evening breeze whispered of impending revelation. He lowered his gaze, and in earnest supplication, he continued, "O Lord, suppose there are 40 righteous in the city?" The Lord turned his attention towards Abram, his voice calm yet filled with authority. "For the sake of 40, I will not do it." In the depths of Abram's spirit stirred a mixture of hope and trepidation, for the righteous were few, and his heart urged him on. "Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 are found there?" The dialogue unfolded with divine grace, each plea a thread woven into the tapestry of fate. "I will not do it if I find 30 there," the Lord replied, his mercy evident in each word. "Behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 are found there." Abram's voice rose with a holy boldness, ignited by the love he bore for his nephew Lot. "For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it," came the answer, echoing like a promise into the night. "Let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak once more. Suppose 10 are found there?" asked Abram, seeking yet another chance to sway divine mercy for his kin. The Lord's response was a gentle solemnity, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." The finality of his words settled heavily in the evening air, and with a heavy heart, the Lord departed from Abram, who stood alone beneath the starlit sky, his spirit stirred with the weight of intercession. The night wrapped Abram in silence, yet within that stillness, his thoughts lingered on Lot and the city's fate. Each breath drawn was a prayer, and each star that flickered in the heavens was a reminder of the covenant promised, a multitude as countless as the stars in the sky. The next dawn heralded a new day, a day filled with consequences intertwined with the threads of human choices and divine providence. The two angels, sent forth with the charge of judgment, descended upon Sodom and Gomorrah, their form radiant and their purpose unerring. Upon their arrival, they encountered Lot sitting at the gate, weary from the weight of the day. Seeing their countenance, Lot rose to meet them, bowing with profound respect. "My lords, please turn aside to your servant's house, and spend the night, and wash your feet." But the angels' mission bore a grim urgency. "No, we will spend the night in the open square." Yet they knew the darkness that shrouded the city and the dangers posed to even a single righteous soul within. With earnest imploring, Lot pressed, and they acquiesced, entering his home as the weight of impending judgment lingered ominously outside. Sodom buzzed with wickedness as the people gathered, a storm of darkness that raged against divine light. The very air crackled with tension as voices cried out, and wickedness proclaimed its boldness in the face of righteousness. As the sun rose, illuminating the depths of depravity, the divine intention grew clearer to the hearts of all involved. The angels reassured Lot, revealing the impending destruction. "For we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." In that moment, the urgency of Abram's plea echoed through the heavens, yet heaven's mercy had been tempered by the cries of the innocent and the cries of the oppressed. Lot's heart raced, filled with compassion and fear for those he loved, and so it was that in the midst of judgment and mercy, a divine plan unfurled, intricately woven with hope for a remnant yet to be saved. But the question hung in the air, like a whisper of the wind: would anyone be found righteous? Would the seeds of Abram's intercession yield a harvest of salvation, or would Sodom's lot be cast in darkness forever? And Lot, filled with dread upon hearing the angel's grave tidings, sought to protect his guests from the wickedness of the city. He hastened to gather his family, urging them with an intensity born of divine urgency. "Rise, take your wives and daughters, and flee this place, for the Lord will destroy the city," he implored, his voice trembling with the weight of revelation. Yet his words were met with mockery and disbelief. "Lot, what are you speaking of?" they scorned, for they were blinded by sin, unable to comprehend the calamity that loomed as dark clouds before a tempest. In that hour, the angels took hold of Lot's hand, and the hands of his wife and 2 daughters, leading them out of the city. The urgency pierced the night, and with a firm resolve, they urged him on. "Flee for your lives. Do not look back, nor stay anywhere in the valley, escape to the mountains, lest you be swept away." As they hurried away, the dawn broke in glorious hues, a stark contrast to the wretched city behind them. Lot's heart, however, wavered. "Oh, my lords, please. It is too much for me. I cannot flee to the mountains, I am overwhelmed. Behold, this city is near enough to escape to, and it is a little one. Let me flee there, is it not a little one? And my life will be saved," he pleaded earnestly. "Behold, I grant you this favor also," one of the angels replied, "that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Hurry, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there." Thus, the city was spared for the sake of Lot, a testament to the mercy of God in the face of wickedness. So Lot entereth into Zoar, and the sunlight spilled upon the land as the decree of heaven was set into motion. The angels, swift in their purpose, turned their countenance toward Sodom, where all manner of immorality lay thick as fog upon the earth. With a divine fire burning in their hearts, they prepared to unleash righteous judgment, and as the great city slumbered in its iniquity, the heavens themselves seemed to tremble in anticipation. The Lord rained down upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire, a judgment that would ignite the very earth and fulfill the outcry rising before the throne of God. The land beneath shook, the sky turned crimson, and the cities became a pyre of judgment. But Lot's family, having found refuge in Zoar, gazed back in horror as destruction unfurled itself, an eruption of divine wrath meant to purge the land of its iniquity. Yet Lot's wife, in a moment of weakness, turned her gaze back, yearning for the life she had known. In that instant, she was transformed into a pillar of salt, a stark reminder of the consequences of disobedience and the weight of looking back upon what God destined for destruction. By nightfall, only smoldering embers remained where once stood the cities of sin, a testament to God's faithfulness to his servant's plea, but also a declaration of his righteousness. Lot, trembling yet grateful for his deliverance, could not shake the sorrow that clung to his heart for the fate of his brethren who chose darkness over light, and thus the narrative of God's judgment and mercy echoed through the valleys, resonating with the promise of his covenant made with Abram. For what lay ahead, and yet unseen, would reveal even greater truths of grace and wholeness emerging from the wreckage of sin, beckoning forth a remnant destined to bring forth his glory anew. Would the trials faced by Lot and his lineage yield a testimony of redemption pointing to the faithful promise yet to come? The unfolding of God's sovereign plan rested upon the horizon, whispering the truth that in the midst of destruction, there would emerge hope, a hope that was woven into the very fabric of the covenant love promised to Abram. And it came to pass, as the sun rose brighter over Zoar, that Lot stood before the ruins of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, his heart heavy with a mixture of grief and gratitude. He remembered the pleas of the righteous, and how the outcry had reached the heavens. In his isolation, he wandered to a high place overlooking the desolate expanse, where the once vibrant cities now lay in ashes. The smoke ascended as a bitter offering, soul-chilling, and a reminder of God's judgment. As Lot gazed with tear-stained eyes, the angels, sent forth to minister, approached him once more. They spoke with solemnity, their voices carrying the weight of divine purpose. Lot, why dost thou linger? The Lord's deliverance hath come to pass, but thou art called to a new chapter. Arise, go forth, your journey hath just begun. Lot's heart trembled at their words, uncertainty settled upon him as he remembered the depths of his former life. O my lords, he replied, this land feels foreign to me. Where shall I go, that I may be safe? What future waits for me when even the air is thick with smoke and sorrow? The angels lifted their hands, and a light shone forth, illuminating the path ahead. Fear not, for the Lord hath not abandoned thee. Thou shalt find refuge in the place he shall show thee. Set forth with faith, for even in trials, he worketh all things for thy good. Taking a deep breath, Lot resolved to set forth from Zoar. He gathered his 2 daughters, their faces shadowed with the remnants of sorrow, yet their spirits stirred with newfound hope. They journeyed into the wilderness, guided by the unseen hand of providence, trusting in the Lord's promise of protection. After a day's travel, they came upon a secluded valley. It was a land untainted, marked by peace and serenity. Yet even here, Lot's heart battled fear with memories of the destruction behind them. What of the future? He whispered to his daughters, what line shall be drawn upon our legacy when the world has been consumed in flames? His daughters, seeking to uplift their father's spirit, reminded him of the God who saved them. Father, they said, though we have lost much, we carry the seed of hope with us. God has spared our lives for a reason. We shall honor him and build anew. Thus, they established a home in the valley. But in the stillness of the night, doubts continued to tempt Lot's heart. And in this time of uncertainty, the Lord came to him in a dream, saying, Fear not, for I shall bless thee. From thy lineage shall come forth a remnant, a people unto my name, destined to see great blessing and promise. Through thee, my covenant shall prevail. As the dawn spread its tendrils of light upon the earth, Lot awoke, heart ignited by the hope of promise. Blessed to be a bearer of God's covenant, he understood that in every affliction lies the seed of something more significant, yet the mystery lingered, for just as Lot's faith was renewed, the sorrows of the past echoed within him. Would his descendants walk in the way of righteousness, or succumb to the same iniquity that had consumed the cities of the plains? The shadows of Sodom lingered on the edge of memory, a reminder of the cost of sin, and the Lord spoke again into the depths of Lot's heart, "What thou carve in the fabric of faith now shall echo through generations. Watch closely, for my sovereign plan unfolds. A lineage of hope is woven through trials, and from the ashes, I shall raise up a nation that will bear my promise." Thus did Lot begin anew, seeking the guidance of the Almighty, ever watchful for the unfolding of a divine narrative that would lead to more than he could reckon. What hope would rise from his seed, and how would the world witness the covenant of God manifest through their lives? And it came to pass that as Lot and his daughters settled into the quietude of the valley, he began to sow seeds of faith amongst them, nurturing their spirits with stories of the mighty works of the Lord. He gathered them beneath the wide expanse of the sky, where stars twinkled like the promises of God. "Now listen well," he said, "for the Lord our God is a God of covenant, and through him, even in desolation, we may find our way back to fruitfulness." Yet, as days turned into weeks, the remnants of grief that haunted them began to stir discontent. Lot's daughters, though they sought to keep hope alive, often found themselves wandering along the edge of the valley, gazing into the distance as if seeking the familiar sights of their old home. And thus came a day when they approached their father, their hearts heavy with longing. "Father," said the elder daughter, "our lives are veiled in shadows from the past. We see no suitors in this land, and our legacy hangs in the balance. How shall we be preserved, for you have promised that from us a remnant would arise?" Lot's sorrow deepened at their words, and he knelt before them in supplication. "Fear not, my daughters. For the Lord hath anointed you for a purpose. Take comfort in your heritage, for the God of Abraham is with us," he reassured them. Yet, the fear of becoming like the people of Sodom loomed over him. What assurance did he have that the choices bestowed upon his daughters would lead them away from sin? And so, in the stillness of the night, Lot cried out to the Lord, seeking wisdom and guidance, his heart yearning for divine clarity. Meanwhile, the atmosphere of the valley shifted, as if the very mountains were attuned to the spiritual struggle within him. Suddenly, the voice of the Lord broke through the silence, "Lot, arise, and let not despair fill your heart. My plans for thee are not bound by the mistakes of the past. I shall guide your daughters in the ways of righteousness, I shall raise them to be vessels of my promise." With renewed assurance, Lot gathered his daughters once more under the starlit sky. "The Lord has spoken," he proclaimed, his voice filled with fervor. "He shall guide your paths and make choices clear before you. Remember, through faith, all barriers shall fall away." As the days went on, the daughters embraced the burden of their father's words. They sought after the wisdom of their Lord fervently, praying for direction in their lives. Indeed, as the sun set and cast long shadows upon the valley, they often returned to the altar Lot had built, laying their hearts before the God who had spared them. And lo, it happened that, amidst their yearning, a band of travelers traversed near their newly established home, and among them, a man of noble lineage caught the eyes of Lot's daughters. His presence was humble, yet there was an air of nobility about him, a reflection of righteousness that resonated deep within them. The daughters' hearts soared, and as they approached their father with tremors of hope, Lot perceived an awakening of lineage. "What fortune is this?" he mused aloud, contemplating the unfolding of God's plan, unseen yet deeply felt. "Yet beware," he warned, "for even now, I implore thee to seek the heart of God in all decisions, that his covenant may rest upon you." Thus, the daughters approached the man, engaging him in conversation, each word echoing the teachings of their father and the faith imbued within. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the valley with a golden hue, Lot recognized that the seeds of faith, born from ashes, were poised to grow. What destiny awaited them, woven into the very fabric of God's sovereign design. For even in the midst of unexpected encounters, the hand of the Almighty was guiding, a mighty lineage would emerge, yet only time would reveal the depths of God's promises fulfilled through them. As time unfolded its sacred tapestry, the promise of God seen within the hearts of Abraham and Lot began to blossom in miraculous ways. In the land of Canaan, the sun shone brightly upon the covenant people, ushering forth a generation marked by profound faith and divine intervention. The Lord's promise resonated still, echoing through the valleys and over the hills, forever etching the path of destiny before them. Abraham, now a seasoned patriarch, gazed upon a land brimming with the richness of fulfillment. And soon, the seed of promise burst forth into fruition. Sarai, having borne the weight of barren years, surrounded by healers of the heart and the whispers of yearning, found her womb stirred by the breath of the Almighty. The Lord, faithful and true, had fulfilled his spoken word. Is anything too hard for the Lord? For Isaac was born an embodiment of laughter and joy, a living testament that salvation springs forth from divine grace. That in the stillness of the night, as Abraham leaned down to cradle his beloved son, he marveled at the sacred thread binding his lineage to heaven's heritage. Each coo and laugh of the child echoed the promises God had spoken long ago, reverberating with life and fulfillment. Abraham built an altar. It stood as a celebration of grace. His gratitude ascended like incense upon the altar flame, a fragrant offering of faith eternal. Meanwhile, far off in the valley, Lot thrived in his quiet sanctuary, his daughters nourished in wisdom and faith. They carried the torch of integrity, their hearts pure, tending to the garden of hope planted deep within. Their nightly prayers sought after the Lord's direction and guidance amidst the growing chaos of choices. And, behold, as the clouds parted, a light shone upon their path. Marriages blossomed, family ties intertwined with righteousness, and hope burgeoned forth like flowers after the rain. Yet, the shadows of Sodom never far from memory, they were careful guardians of the covenant, mindful of the choices that had brought their forefathers both judgment and mercy. The legacy birthed through them would not only be of lineage but of character, embodying righteousness in the world while lifting hearts toward the sovereign. Abraham journeyed through years, living under the promise of many nations. His faith became a tapestry woven through trials, joys, and echoes of generations yet to come. As he knelt at the altar upon the hills, he heard again the whisper of God, the same echo that stirred him from so long ago. Your descendants shall be like the stars in the sky and the sands on the seashore. Each star twinkling above mirrored the hope birthed through faith writ large upon the canvas of time. As the days unfolded into years, Lot's lineage bore forth children, leaders chosen, and hearts committed to the God of their fathers. They bridged the gap between loss and restoration, carrying the knowledge of divine mercy wherever they roamed. Nations rose and fell, yet a remnant persisted, forged by the strength of covenantal love and devoted prayer. And it came to pass, as the sun set once more over the cradle of promise, the Lord revealed himself in a vision to Abraham, affirming his covenant. Behold, I am with you, and I will bless you and multiply you exceedingly. The fervor of promise filled the air, igniting his spirit anew while the generations to come held tightly to the threads of their legacy. In this grand narrative of God's faithfulness, seeing the faith of a father and the endurance of his family, the tale of Abraham and Lot became a testament that even amidst shadows of judgment, there lies an unbreakable chain of grace, unfurling God's plan of salvation. Generation by generation. As they gathered around the fires of wonder and thanksgiving, let the flames testify to the mighty works of the Lord. Indeed, this was the ultimate fulfillment of promises spoken long ago, binding two families together through trials, faith, tears, and the inevitable laughter of God's unwavering love. As you ponder the mighty hand of God throughout history, consider your own faith journey. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Leave a like now to share this powerful testimony with others. What reflections does this story stir within you? Comment your thoughts below and share how God has impacted your heart through these narratives. And don't wait even one more second. Share instantly this sacred message with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. Together, let us shine brightly as beacons of hope in this world, forever anchored in His promises.